looking ahead, preparing to sell, perhaps 6 to 12 months out, what sort of things make sense to do today versus putting off everything until the last minute, which is never a good idea. So today we're going to talk about the difference between things that we can knock out way ahead of time that we're probably not going to have to repeat versus things later, like cleaning up the windows, putting out mulch in your flower beds that's fresh, maybe some seasonal flowers. These are great for last minute. Knowing the difference between things we can knock out a year ahead, for example, versus last minute is really imperative to know. So if, for example, right now, we've gone through a big freeze in the last couple of years, we also just went through a massive drought. So maybe we have a landscaping with a lot of dead trees and shrubs. Now, as long as it's not the winter time, it's probably a pretty good time for you to think about what plants could I replace that are long since past, and that later on maybe we can trim up and reshape last minute to make our flower beds look really great when we put out that fresh mulch. So knowing the difference there in our landscaping, for example, of what things we could start knocking out now will make the job a lot easier when we're preparing, say, a month from listing the home, right? So we want to think from the outside. Landscaping is one thing, but also when we walk up to the front door, we want to pay attention to what our front porch looks like, if we have a front porch, or the front door. That the front door is either recently stained or painted and it doesn't look like it needs refreshing big time, because our buyers are going to start judging the house right up front when they start walking up to that front door. Maybe we have some delayed projects, gutters that have been filled up for a long time, and water is like rushing over the gutter or through the eave because they're not functioning normally. We need to knock out some of these projects. Let's go ahead and get on top of all our maintenance items. Perhaps we had a main drain and the AC plugged and the secondary drain is leaking water, or we have some AC issues that need buttoning up. Let's go ahead and knock all that stuff now versus later. If we want to do painting, we can look at the exterior of the house. So let's talk about the exterior and let's talk about the painting. Let's look at the difference between power washing or getting the dirt off of, say, all the walls and the ceiling of the front porch versus I need a fresh new paint job of all the walls, okay? So you can take a look and really discern the difference between the two. And a lot of times, all that soil that sometimes is around your front and back porch, which is the main areas, by the way, that the buyers are going to be paying attention to versus judging your paint from all around the side of the home or the sides of the home. We really need to look at those areas and say, hey, maybe we have railing and the iron needs a fresh coat, or we have some wood rot that could be addressed now versus waiting until later. These are some examples of ideas that you'd want to knock out now versus putting them off till later. Later, we can clean windows, we can clean the insides of the house, we can put fresh mulch in the flower beds, and we can do all these things last minute. And if we have any projects that have been delayed, such as we have a whole room full of storage things that most of which we don't need to go through, we've been grueling that, going through all those things and making decisions, maybe now is a good time to start doing that. Do not put that off to the last minute. Maybe we have a whole lot of things in the garage that we don't need anymore, and we need to get some of these things out so that later on when we make decisions inside the house that we need to store some things, we can use the garage if there's some free space to stack some things up when it's not the best way to stay at home, right? So some food for thought there. And on the inside, look at your walls. If they need painting, and we know we're not going to mess it up again in a year, maybe now's a good time to start planning on those projects. And if you want to speak to a professional like me to come out and help you make that list, now is never too early to go ahead and get that list prepared so you can start making decisions between what things to knock out now versus last minute right before you list. So hope that helps, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.